Hello and welcome to a special episode of Property Porn Stars. Today we are hoping to release this episode on International Women's Day, and fresh off the back of the Women in Estate Agency conference that we went to yesterday, Amanda and Katie, we thought it'd be a good idea to talk about what it's like for women in estate agency in the premium part of the property market, which is what we focus on, how it might be different, and some of your experiences, and then also maybe even some words of wisdom that you can impart on others that might be thinking of getting into that premium end of the property market as well. So, Amanda, you and I a little while ago came up with some talking points, some questions to kind of steer us along this.
Yeah.
So, start with you then. Do you think that, rather, in your experience, do you think that sexism, gender bias is worse in the premium market, or is it better in the premium market than the resi market?
I think it's better because when I worked in more of the middle market, I was more in an office space. So I've only really worked in the premium market being a self-employed agent. So I guess I don't have that team surrounding me. Sorry.
Marie's trashing the place.
That team surrounding me. So yeah, and in terms of clients and the responses I get for being a female in the premium market, I don't really see it as much anymore.
Okay. And Marie, Katie, would you say the same thing? You think it's better in the premium market, worse in the premium market? What's your take on it?
I think it's better because there's probably more of a respect there because we work in the premium market, because we, have quite a few years experience. Just I guess as well, the kind of link that people make, like, ooh, she sells multi-million-pound homes, she must know what she's doing.
Yeah.
So I
okay.
think you just probably get a little bit more of like status.
Built-in
selling,
respect from
Yeah,
that.
built respect more than just selling, the 100,000-pound homes.
Yeah, because I guess like there's a feeling that you've graduated up, so to speak, up the value ladder to the bigger stuff, so you must know what you're doing. What about you, Katie? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, do you think there's a link to being kind of a business owner as well and going in and saying that you're a managing director versus, some of the stories that you were telling me about when you were working on the high street, and you mentioned that I think you'd arranged an appointment to go out and do evaluation, and he thought that you were the receptionist.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I did. So yeah, it was when I was working on the high street, and this guy phoned in, had quite a lovely property. I think it was probably worth maybe like 1.5, 1.75 or something like that. Phoned in to book the valuation, went through everything with him on the phone, and I said, oh, it's all confirmed for whenever it was. I'm Amanda, I'll be the one coming out to see you. He went, oh, I thought you were the assistant. And I said, oh no, I'm one of the valuers in the team here. I think at the time I was like the assistant manager or something. And he was like, well, shouldn't you be at home washing dishes?
No.
Yeah, and I laughed thinking it was a joke, but he was being deadly serious. I mean, he was very sort of, I guess, an old school gentleman type. So I obviously wasn't the best person to go out on that valuation. Like I was never going to win that instruction and I was just going to be an uphill battle. So yeah, my colleague went out on it in the end. But
it's crazy though.
That's the only one I've had though from a client side. Yeah.
One of my friends texted in our WhatsApp group the other day and she said this man she's been speaking to, she's booked the valuation, and then he's been like on the phone really weird saying, so are you going to bring somebody along? And it's like, no, it's just me. And then she texted in our group like, God, this is weird. And then he messaged her, he texted her after she confirmed the appointment, like, I think you should bring someone because like that's how it has to be done or something like that. And she's like, I am an estate agent, like I am, it's almost like he's not taking her professionally because she's a woman.
Yeah.
And I just thought, did you tell him that you're the agent? She's like, yeah, he knows.
Was he uncomfortable having a woman on her own in his house?
I don't know. It just sounded like, are you like a chaperone? Are you going to bring somebody along? It's like, why?
Why would I?
To?
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that was just a bit weird. I don't know the full story. I just know that. And I thought, that's a bit odd, isn't it?
Come back to something you said, Katie. Do you think that like job titles have an impact on this as well? So this was a question I had anyway, but you said it perfectly as well. That being the managing director, that the importance of having that after your name perhaps gets over some of that with people or makes the impression, or does it not really make much of a difference? They still get it anyway.
I think it does make a difference.
Yeah, I think it does make a difference. Yeah, I think people like dealing with business owners, and I think I've definitely won instructions because they like dealing with me and with the owner, because I had feedback before where they've had bigger offices come out and they're like, well, yeah, I've met the director, but I'm never going to see him again. And it's not his business. And quite a lot of my clients are business owners themselves. So they really appreciate the fact that
Yeah.
it's my little baby, and they've been through that journey themselves. So yeah.
They kind of respect
it.
the risk that you're taking, the effort you're putting in, because it is your business.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, say, like with the high streets, then they know there might be somebody above you and they want the best person to go out, and they, I suppose, make the assumption that it's going to be a male. So then that's why that happens on the phone. Whereas if you're managing director of your own company, then there isn't anyone above you.
Yes.
So it's...
Oh yeah, that's true. Like being top of the tree sort of thing. They just, if you're in a high street, it's like, oh well, I want the best person, the most senior
the
person.
respect. That title brings respect of, you know.
Yeah. One of the things that we were talking about in this as well, Amanda, was like the feeling of women having to prove themselves more, which kind of dovetails in with what we were just talking about. But tell me what you were thinking of when we were talking about that.
I guess that might just be my own personal experience and maybe my own personal doubts, but I always feel that, like, even when I went to go self-employed, it's very much, oh, are you sure? Like, is that, like, you're going to have your own business? Is that like the right thing to do? Are you ready? Do you not need more support? Whereas I've got male friends that have done it, and it's been like, off you go. Wow, you're going to be amazing. Why have you not done it any sooner? And I just think, and again, I don't know if that's just my perception of how they say it and I'm just thinking it in my head, or whether it does actually happen. But I just always think that people are watching and they're like, is she going to do all right? Whereas men, it's always like an exception that they're going to do well to start with. And I just think that there's always, I always feel that I have to prove myself so much more. But then, like I said, that might just be me.
What do you both think? Do you think that's in Amanda's head or not?
No. I think that men are kind of congratulated to take risks, and women are not congratulated to take risks. It's like, are you sure? Because I jumped from my last estate agency role to By Design during the whole process of getting separated, and you know, we were going to sell the house, and somebody had told me, is this really the time for you to do that? And I went, yes, because you know what, I cannot rely on anybody to take care of my kids anymore. Not that I did before, but we were a team, and now it's just me. So yeah, I'm gonna jump on this, and if I face plant, I can always go back to, you know, a high street agent. But this could change my life, and this is the right time to do it because I need to take care of my kids. But it was the doubt. But if I was a man, it probably would have been like, you are amazing, going through a divorce and starting your own business. Like, do you know what I mean? It would have been a clap.
Yeah, it would have been.
Like, you are amazing taking all that on. It would have just been a different narrative.
They're just put on a bit more of a pedestal.
For
some reason, yeah.
I don't know why.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of the podcast, and chances are if you're listening to this podcast, then the premium property market is of some interest to you. But how interesting actually is it? Well, we can tell you that with a free personalised premium market report on the premium property market in your area. It shows you firstly the value of the premium market around you, and it also shows an in-depth competitor analysis as to what your competition are doing, the good, the bad, and in some detail as well, so you can perhaps make a strategy of how you would take some of that market for yourself if you wanted to. All you need to do is go to bydesignhomes.com/report. That's bydesignhomes.com/report, and we'll send it to you within a day or two. That's it. Back to the episode. But one of the things that's sort of related to that is, so the rise of self-employment in the estate agency industry is huge. And I want to talk about that in relation to the difference between men and women doing that. What was the stat that we were talking about a second ago about, was Katie the stat queen?
I can't remember.
Which one? Which one's one?
About the number of men versus women that had started as a self-employed agent.
Oh, okay. So in a state agency, over 56% of agents are women, but in terms of the ones that go on and open up their own company, it's like, I think it was like 92% are men and 8% are women. So like around 1 in 10.
8% women. It just seems, we were really shocked, weren't we?
I was really shocked when you told me. I thought it'd be much more reflective of, well, firstly, I didn't know that it, so it's 56% was men or women? Female
in
the
estate
wider
agency
industry.
as a whole.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, isn't it? I suppose I saw something related to that this morning that was about I knew that was going to move, so I screen grabbed it, about so there's lots of women in estate agency, but very much like aggregated near the more junior roles of businesses. And like you can see, so you'd have sort of non-managerial is 78% women, 22% men. Then you get to senior management is 75% men, 25% women. There's like this massive, just it flips on its head completely. it shocked me because I thought, and I don't know why I thought this, but it'd be much more evenly balanced between men and women doing self-employed agency. I was like, but why do you think that is? What's going
So
on
it's
there?
only 8% of women who go into
Self-employed.
self-employed roles.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think it feels like there are more women, maybe because of social media.
Yeah.
Because I was
Yeah.
looking at some stats that say that women will put themselves out there more on social media and tend to get more engagement than men do. So perhaps it feels that way because they're just doing a lot
'Cause of
more,
what you
so more,
see.
more visible. But when you actually look at the numbers, there are a lot more men.
But it is
Setting up
interesting as to why
independently.
it's so low. I guess is it confidence? Is it making that jump? Is it financial reasons?
Is it also
Is
the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? The opportunities that women are given. Because think
Yep.
about it, if you start as a neg and you get to like senior neg,
Yep.
but there's you and 4 men and all of you are senior negs, and
Yep.
one of you has to become branch manager. Who's going to become branch manager?
Yeah.
Most probably one of the 4 men.
Yeah.
So is it just a lack of opportunity as well that women are just confined to the bottom because they're not given the chance to go up higher and higher?
Yeah.
And then the ones who risk it to go self-employed are very little because of the doubt that's cast upon everyone.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a
Self-fulfilling
yeah,
thing, isn't
like
it?
you've got swords from all
Yeah.
all sides.
That was what I was thinking about. It was like if you take those two things, the amount of women that go self-employed, and then the amount of women that are in more. So I guess in those roles you have, roughly speaking, I'm going to butcher this, but like administrative, negotiator, valuer, and then like managerial. Let's just say that's the way it goes. I guess you'd want to go self-employed if you were higher up that tree, right? If you were doing. You'd done all the roles up until valuing and then managing, you would think, okay, well, this is the obvious thing for me to do. But if you haven't got that far, then you might think, well, I'd like to go self-employed, but I've not really done much valuing or managing.
I think it's also like the opportunity is very like the opportunities are numbered in the first place because in a high street office you have to wait for like the branch manager to quit or
die.
retire or die for you to then for you
sometimes,
then,
you know.
for you to then like jump on that.
Yeah.
So it's not even like a normal job where you have 500 employees and if you get to a certain place you can get to the next stage and next stage.
Yeah.
There's only one of the next stage, so
Yeah.
you could be waiting 10 years to become branch manager until that person leaves.
Yeah.
And also having children as well. Like I personally experienced that where I got to a managerial level. I had children coming back into the workplace. I didn't want to work full time. I mean, full time in an estate agency is 6 days a week, 60 hours a week. And that hasn't changed. And I don't know why there isn't more flexibility. I don't know why there isn't more job shares even.
Yeah.
But see, sometimes the flexibility means no money because I started at a high street, I got pregnant, and then they wanted me to come back. And I said, I'm not working 60 hours a week and being a mum. Like that's not why I've become a mum.
No.
But then they said, oh, we can do it part-time. And I said, if I'm not in the office answering the phone, I'm not making money because all of your agents are there like the first to pick up and then they get the valuation. So if I'm not there 50% of the time, I'm not making any money and I'm basically making minimum wage. So it's not worth coming back.
And a lot of the part-time roles are, again, the receptionist, the administrator, the sales progressor, and it's all those sort of mid-lower jobs and not having any more senior responsibilities or also even valuing in some instance. It's just very, and which is what I found, and I just got bored out of my brains going back, like, and I wasn't very good at admin, so like, why put me in an admin job? And like you say, then the salary changes and it's just really hard, which is one of my reasons why I went self-employed, because that seemed to me like the only avenue that I could do what I wanted to do in my career, but not work 60 hours a week dictated to me that I had to be in the office 8 till 6 days a week.
What were you telling me earlier about the incentive that they gave to full-time employees that you didn't get because you were part-time? Is that in a couple of jobs as well that you experienced?
So I've had loads of stories, but we were sharing some on the train, weren't we? But the previous company I used to work for, they or a lot of companies, don't they? They bring in, if you work a Saturday, you get half a day or a day off in the week. And this particular company weren't offering that. They then brought it in, but only for full-time employers. But I was doing the same amount of Saturdays as a full-time person, so I think it was like 1 in 3 or something. So I said to my manager, well, you're now giving away 5 extra days a year holiday to full-time people, whereas the part-time people aren't getting any extra time off. We're basically working more, which then means our salaries lower effectively. And obviously across the business, all the people that were part-time were female in those positions. But yeah, they didn't agree with that. So I said it should be prorated. So I said it should be, for me, it should have been like 3 hours off a week if I
Yeah,
worked a
that's
Saturday,
fair.
because then it would have been the same.
Mm.
So it's just little things like that all the time. And I had it when I went into recruitment a bit as well, where they had a threshold to hit. And if you went, mine was based on my full-time salary, which I wasn't receiving, rather than my pro rata salary, whereas everyone else in the team was on. And then it's just constant battle. You feel like you're just constantly moaning
Yeah, just silly
and
things.
constantly like, yeah.
How
just-
much do you think that sort of going self-employed is a route to avoid all of this kind of, excuse the French, bullshit? Like,
Yeah.
how much do you think
Yeah.
that is, and therefore would you encourage more women to go down the self-employed route more than the 8% that currently do?
Yeah.
Like, is that, what do you think about that?
I think just because you're a good estate agent doesn't mean you'd be a good business owner. And I think
Okay.
that's where probably a lot of people don't have that confidence because, you know, you see it all the time. A good plumber, he starts his own business, it fails. Like, it's the same thing as real estate. You could be a fantastic agent in the high street where you're fed tons of leads, and but then you have to go out by yourself and you have to manage your own time, and you have to go and door knock, and you have to go and source your leads, and you have to manage all the business side of things and your limited company, and a lot of people, that's kind of unknown. So some people make the jump and then they fail because they're not good at business, and that's fair enough. There's a place for both the self-employed and the employed, but I think a lot of women don't make the jump because they're so scared, because it's not just real estate, it's business at the same time, and that can scare a lot of people.
Yeah. What are those kind of attributes that a good estate agent would need to run the business then? I appreciate that's outside of just women, but that's a general thing.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think that the differences are? What's been like the learning curves for you three that's gone from being a good estate agent to then running your own business?
I think work ethic,
Yeah.
hunger, drive, like you've got to have that. You've got to want it and do it. Like, you can't, like you say, you can't just expect the business to fall into your lap like maybe you would, especially if you're in a well-established high street office.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can teach that. I don't think you can teach that work ethic.
No, they
I
either
think you
have it or
you
they don't.
Yeah.
But that's you either have an entrepreneur mindset or you don't.
Yeah.
Like that growth mindset or you don't. Or, you know, you have that poor me victim mindset, and they won't survive.
No.
But I think I've met so many agents in the high street who are like wings clipped. I can tell like you would be amazing as a self-employed agent. But either they don't have the money to make the jump because, you know, you're not going to get paid for probably 8 months or so. Or the confidence, because you're betting on yourself.
Yeah. But also with the confidence, if we know that women aren't getting those higher positions, and generally just kind of across all of employment, men will go for a job if they feel like they are achieving like 50% of what's needed, whereas women feel like they need to be achieving all of those things. So if they've not had the opportunity in a high street agency, then they're maybe not going to have the confidence and go out
Definitely.
and do it for themselves.
Yeah. Because it is a big leap and it's a big risk. It is a risk. You could fall flat on your face. But then you think, what have you got to lose? Because you could go to any high street agent and get a job tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're always looking. The turnover is so high on these places.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really that self-confidence of making the jump.
And putting yourself out there.
But I think because women are more criticized, it is extra hard. Because I think we're also, everybody expects everything from women, especially mums. Like, you need to be there for the school pickups, you need to be there for all the school activities, but then you need to work as well, and then you need to do the food shop, and you need to keep the house clean. Like, there's still all of that stigma around being a mum who works.
Yeah.
Does the self-employed lifestyle, I say lifestyle, I'm not saying it's like, oh, just going to have coffees. Although I did have a joke with you that every time I phoned you, you were playing paddle.
I'm playing paddle, It's actually true.
At the gym, you call me all the time. So that's gym.
It's just bad timing. But do you think that is more like conducive to trying to manage all the different plates you have to spin? If I mix up my metaphors a little bit there.
Yeah, I think for me, for the being there for the kids is definitely easier. I mean, there's times, I'm not going to like sugarcoat it, there's times where I've been on a family holiday and I've had to deal with horrendous chain breaks and sales chasing, and I can see my kids on the beach and I'm just like like it's kind of dealing with the stress. It is, yeah, exactly. But then on the other hand, I can volunteer to help out at their school trip, and I can go and read in their classroom, or I can be there for the nativity plays, the sports days. You can't do that in an employed role. You can't keep taking time off and lose all your holiday, even over school holidays. It's so much more flexible. You know, a lot of school clubs only run 9 till 3. So having that flexibility to manage your diary around it is just...
I also think there's work and then there's pointless work. Like, you know, when I was high street, I'd be there on a Saturday and it's not busy. There's nothing. We've got no appointments. I'm just literally sat there.
And you sit
like
there
4 or
watching
5
like
hours, just chatting to the person who's there. And it's like, okay. And if I was self-employed and I didn't have any appointments, I'd go out for the day with the kids to the zoo. Right? I could. So I manage my time better. And yes, I'm like you. I go to the gym 3 times a week. I go do my food shop. I often go for lunches with friends. But I work extremely hard in the periods that I need to. And then it works around my kids. I've never missed a show, or I can do school pickup, or if there's a day that they have my daughter had a football competition, so I just took the day off and I was there all day. And I was on my phone, like I answered a few emails and stuff, but it's nice to be able to work around it.
There's pros and cons, but I think that the pros massively outweigh it. Like, I just don't think I'm good in employment, because I like to be able to manage my own diary and do what I want with the week, and I can do that now.
I think it's like someone said to me, like, oh yeah, all of us are pretty much unemployable now. I was like, probably are.
I don't think anybody could ever tell me what time I can have lunch again. Do you know what I mean?
No.
I'd be like, no, thank you.
It's a funny thought, that, isn't it?
Or what time you need to go in and leave at the end of the day.
Like, what's the point? Because it's I've often thought that just from a very pragmatic point of view, is like the estate agents typically open in all the times that people can't go and view houses, and the amount that goes on out of hours and so on. It just doesn't make any sense to try and be traditional with the timing of it.
No.
On a subject that we were talking about a second ago, about like the junior roles and so on, you were telling me about Pregnant Then Screwed.
Pregnant Then Screwed.
What's Pregnant Then Screwed?
So Pregnant Then Screwed is a charity that actually got opened, I think, in 2015 on International Women's Day.
Okay.
And the lady that opened it is very inspirational. She's written books and everything, but she basically had maternity discrimination when she went back to work, and then which is why she set up the charity. So it's basically free legal advice for women who are experiencing, you know, unfair redundancy, or, you know, they've had a baby, they're trying to go back to their role and their role's changed, or, you know, the job's not available anymore. So yeah, it's a very, I guess, useful tool. You think that people would need it, but apparently 54,000 women a year have some form of maternity discrimination, and women have to have babies to keep the world turning. So it's
There is like some crazy thing as well about like this is somewhat off topic, but there's like a population problem right now. Like there's that we're not creating enough kids, and then society, and there are some countries, I think it's like
kids.
no, it's like the other way around. And then there's countries, I think it's either like Japan or Korea is one of those. It's got like a real problem. They've got this aging population now, and the pyramid used to look like that of the young kids and the old kids, and now it's like this, and you've got like a dwindling workforce. But
didn't they have like max 1 child per family or something at one point?
I think it was China.
Is that China?
But then it's funny because you think that then that being the case, the government want to incentivize people to have more kids, but having kids is expensive and comes with all these problems as well, doesn't it? Sorry, I think you were going to say something.
No, but it's a catch-22, because that, I mean, if you look at cost to put a child in nursery, like just 1 child for the month for a full Monday to Friday, you're talking like £1,500 plus, right? And so if you have 2 children, let's say it's 2,000 or 2,500, and you're plus your mortgage plus this, a lot of people can't afford that. So you know, you have the mum who stays at home, they have 1 child, then they probably have 2, let's say, and a lot of them will wait until both are at school because it makes more sense than going to work for a few £100 extra a month. But then you've been out of a job for 8 years, let's say.
I know, it just seems crazy.
Who's going to hire you? The world has changed. Think about AI. If somebody worked 8 years ago, it's very different now.
That's so true.
And then the confidence to go back in, and you know, you've got all of these things. So it's a vicious catch-22 of like women try to get back in, but they've been out for 6 to 8 months, 6 to 8 years.
And then the salaries are so bad, like in a estate agency, they're not great, are they, for a high street estate agent in a negotiator role? You know, you can't do that and pay.
No, because then you divide your hours by what you make, and it's actually less than minimum wage.
Because
if you do 60 hours a week, it's less than minimum wage. And you think, why
And then
would
you're
you get out
paying
of bed for
minimum
that?
wage to the nursery, and then you're like, well,
was the
What is
point?
going on
what's-
here?
Yeah,
What is the point
you're
of all
working for free.
But this is also why the turnover is so high. So in the previous job that I worked,
Yep.
the admins and sales chasers were changing all the time because they weren't paid high enough.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'd call and it's like, oh, no, she's not there anymore. It's this person. So I would end up doing my own sales chasing because it changes so much, and my own admin because nobody could know your, you know, your chains well enough to actually work on them because it
Yeah.
changed so often.
Yeah.
And so you think, but if you were to pay people what they're worth, they might stay.
Because it's not easy. It's a stressful job.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is off topic. I think the root of all those problems is fee levels at the end of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Because,
Well,
like,
no, you
there's-
say that, but some of these fees, like in the high street, you could have a 20 grand fee and the agent might make £300.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where's that money going? It's going
No,
to somebody.
you're right. I think it's more like the you can have those. The typical
Yeah.
fees are much lower, but then there's just this sort of quantum they have to do. Like there's an
Yeah.
amount of listings they have to take on to sell an amount,
Yeah.
and then an amount of people to service
Yeah.
that, and then there's overheads of running offices and all
Yeah.
that, and you think it just doesn't quite stack up the way it once did.
No.
Yeah.
Changing the subject like completely to talk about safety from that perspective, because this is like a whole other thing, and it's interesting how different a safety aspect is in the role for women in estate agency actually between the premium and the resi market. And we were talking about this a little bit yesterday at the conference and a bit off camera today as well. But so we said earlier that generally your feeling is that just general levels of sexism
Yeah.
is better in the premium than the
Yeah.
volume market. But from a safety point of view, would you say the same thing, or would you say actually it's more dangerous in the premium market?
Oh, do you want to go?
Yeah, I just you never know. I'm just thinking about like going out like door knocking and meeting people, and I got invited into somebody's house and it was a snowy day, so I was like, oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
And like also we can have like a proper chat now, this is great. And then we were in the hall and then we were talking for ages, and then he started like stroking my arm, and I was like, oh, like how do I get out of this? This is now starting to feel really weird, and I'm like, nobody knows where I am. I put myself in a really vulnerable position. So
I think that door knocking is quite, yeah, because nobody knows. Like for me, all my appointments are in the CRM. So if I go missing or something, somebody can look at where I was.
Yeah.
If you're going door knocking, like, yeah. I think we should all have like a panic button.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
like you press the button and then an alarm sounds to whoever, whether it's
Yeah.
the police or colleagues or something.
Yeah.
Because there was, I mean, this is America, but there's a few people who died in the last few years in America from showing a house.
yeah.
Like
there was a
found in a
woman in
basement,
England, wasn't there?
killed,
Yeah.
stabbed, or whatever
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
at a
Yeah.
viewing. So it does
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
The one in England was Susie Lamplugh, I think the name
Yeah.
was.
It's
That's
quite
quite
a
a long
few
time
years
ago.
ago, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
but the premise hasn't changed since then. That's the
No.
crazy thing. Like
Yeah.
that could happen. I don't know what has changed between then and now, other than maybe more people have mobile phones.
Yeah.
I was taking an email address of somebody at like a viewing, and he told me that the email address, it was like whatever his name was, then it was like Loves Dexter, and I was like, is that like the serial killer? But I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
it's really weird.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean that's a really odd,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is a bit odd. But I think in the premium market, you are like the houses I go to are definitely more rural, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like I feel I've probably had more cases where I felt unsafe in the core market.
In the core
resi
market?
yeah.
Okay,
But
okay.
because I think that's just volume based.
Yes.
And I
okay.
think that there's just, I
But
don't
there are
know.
weirdos everywhere,
There's
whether
weirdos
rich or
everywhere.
poor, right?
Yeah,
And,
exactly. But I think if you're in the middle
Okay.
of nowhere, surrounded by 20 acres of land, and you've got nowhere to run, then yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't really think about it, which is really bad.
No, I don't
No,
either.
no.
I kind of like,
Yeah.
I go
Well, I
about
said
my
to
day.
you, I always make sure I'm connected to the Wi-Fi, like my client's Wi-Fi when I'm in the house, just so that I do have phone signal, so that I can go and hide in a wardrobe or
Well,
something.
you say that.
It's
Okay,
crazy that you
cool.
have to think about that.
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
That is.
yeah.
But one of my friends in our WhatsApp group, she
Yeah.
texted us. She said, "Guys, I don't feel safe. I'm at this house. The guy's a bit weird." And then we were like, "Okay, so we know where she
Yeah.
is." And then she texted us after. She's like, "Okay, I'm not dead, but I'm not going to deal with him
that's
anymore." She
scary.
Yeah.
really felt
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. But like it's a funny thing though, because like you think about what you just said there about connecting to the Wi-Fi and
Yeah.
stuff, and you know I'm not an estate agent, so I'm not really in that position, but it wouldn't even kind of go through my head to even think that. Not that I'm gonna like beat anybody up or something, like
Yeah.
whatever. But it's not even on the radar.
On the radar, yeah.
I suppose as a
What
guy.
about this guy that's like been calling up estate
Oh,
agents to try and arrange
yes, my
viewings,
friend,
and we've
the
all
same
had to save
girl.
him in our
Yeah.
phone.
He's
He's doing
tried
the
on you.
rounds.
He's tried on her.
Yeah, so he was with my previous company, I had him phone me multiple times. He wanted to view a property through me, wouldn't give me any details like name, address, was really vague about his position. He then phoned head office and made a complaint about me because I wasn't professional and I wouldn't let him book a viewing. Obviously, after explaining it to head office, it was all fine. And then actually, I then put something on a Facebook group, and there was other people within that network that he'd also been bothering. So we realised then it was a bit more of a serious thing.
Yeah.
He then disappeared, but since I've been with By Design, he's phoned me a couple of times again. Just very odd calls, like sometimes late at night, will send me a WhatsApp and ask me what I did at the weekend.
He sent my friend flowers twice.
Oh yeah, see, I
Oh,
haven't
that's creepy,
haven't
yeah.
had that, so it's really
Yeah,
creepy.
yeah. And it's like,
So he's doing the rounds, and
Yeah.
it seems to be more premium market, seems to be females that are on presentation-led videos, because he always says that he's watched the video.
and you're so beautiful,
Yeah.
and you're the best estate agent.
Yeah.
And God, I saw all the texts, and he is very.
Yeah. So that's a perfect segue into something else that, again, like I hadn't even ever thought of before. But there's such a push now for, well, firstly, like the age of social media being one thing, about personal branding being another. It presented at tours, but then everything just being documented on socials. And then I was like, okay, well, that's all stuff we need to do. Yeah. But then you sent round, because we made like a WhatsApp group just about organising today. I think it was on there, Katie, you sent round like just a handful of screen grabs, but it was ridiculously, like I was really shocked by it, like just the amount of people that were sending you just random weird DMs all the time. I was like, bloody hell. I mean, so
I
if
didn't
you
see this message.
maybe did you put it in the group, or was it just to me?
I think we were just chatting about it, weren't we?
Just to me, and I was like,
Yeah, she
what
showed me
the
on the
hell? And that was like
train,
one
yeah.
tiny snapshot probably into your life. And like there's one problem with it, I guess, is like the management. How do you sift out the people that are real to just like the random nutters that are messaging you? And then there's like a more sinister kind of safety aspect of it, that because you're more visible than you'd have ever been ever in society up until now, you know, you can put something on socials, get tens of thousands of impressions, and then you think, well, okay, that's putting you out there in a way that makes you more vulnerable, because you know, these weirdos can get locked onto someone, and where do you go from there? So how do you manage that?
It is like something to think about, because like recording content in my house, I always try and like record in one corner. So, but you know, could someone like figure out where I live from, you know, what I put on my content? I need to be like careful and mindful of that, I suppose.
We're very easy to find, probably.
Kind of intentionally
Like,
so, because that's what you're doing. You're making yourself like, oh,
yeah.
this is me, this is my contact details, and put yourself out there. But then you're like, oh, who am I putting myself out there to?
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I know it exists, but I'm not oblivious to it, but like I go to my day to day, and
I think you kind of have to just block it out. Otherwise, it probably could consume your day and also stop you from doing things that are going to be beneficial to your business. So you do just have to turn a blind eye on it, but be obviously cautious. And you know, none of us are stupid. As soon as something like that comes up, or you get these strange calls, you know instantly that it's not real.
So how do you like because I remember that we started talking about many chat or something like, but it's a way to deal with that, just the quantity that was most surprising, and just like crap messages from people. How do you deal with that? Like, what do you do? Do you ignore them? Do you?
Yeah, I mean, because I've had like indecent images sent to me and like porn. Like,
How have I not known about this?
Yeah, I had one where like my mum called me and she was like, "You've been tagged in something, and it's about like something really indecent about you and your like brother-in-law." So like I clicked on it, and then it like brought up porn, and then put loads of like viruses on her phone.
Oh yeah.
What?
So yeah, just like really weird stuff.
I think that's the other thing. If this is men and women, but we're easily targeted for viruses and stuff. So like I had an email, and it's somebody inquired about a house on Rightmove, so it came through, and then I sent her an email saying that it was under offer or something like that, and then she came back with like, here's what I require, and it was like a document, but not pinned at the top like normal, like in the middle. And the way she was talking was so weird, and I thought, I am not opening that document. That is definitely a virus. And you could tell that like the way she was talking wasn't quite normal, and so I think they just look at big figures, and then just go like, they just you know, send it to everybody. But I've never had porn, so.
But yeah, I think
yes, there's still time. Great.
Come on, people.
Yeah, I think like in answer to your question, I just have a lot of unread messages because you can normally tell by just the start of the message if it's a normal message
Really?
with like a normal greeting
Almost
to
without
something.
opening them, you can tell that
Yeah,
they're.
so like you had a look
Mm.
before, and there's just loads that are unread,
Yeah.
so just don't bother
Yeah.
opening
I
them.
think
Or
it's
there's
all-
like an attachment. I'm like,
But you've
No.
got like streams and streams, haven't you? Of like,
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't have any.
I don't think you should feel left out.
But no, I think also, I think women need to be okay to walk away. I think when you go from the employed world to the self-employed world, you're already picked on a little bit more for being a woman, and then you kind of feel like you need any work, so you say yes to everything because you need to
Yeah.
prove yourself.
Yeah.
But it's okay to say no to stuff. So like I had a guy who I was speaking to for probably a year, just to up until he was ready, and then when he started to become ready, he was like asking me for dates and stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk away from this.
Yeah.
And did you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah. I just
Yeah.
kind of said sorry, not for me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of women would be like, oh, but I need the listing, so I'm gonna do it anyways.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's okay to walk away if you don't feel comfortable. If he's not your type, or she or he, it doesn't matter. If they're not resonating with you, if you feel uncomfortable, it's okay to walk away.
Yeah.
Did you sort of feel it like just a gut thing? You're like, nah, this isn't adding up. This is weird.
Yeah, so I said something. He's like, so I guess no date then. And it was like the third time he had pushed it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, ask me once, and I'll kind of like, haha, no, thank you, I'm taken, or whatever.
Yeah.
And keep going. And it's like, okay, it's not just a nice
Red
ask
flag.
anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you get weird
Yeah,
about
you're
it.
allowed to be
Yeah.
asked. That's fine. If somebody
Yeah.
fancies you, you can be asked. But if you keep going, then
Yeah.
it's a very big sign of, okay, I'm not going to work with you. I also had one person specifically tell me at the valuation, just like you, the woman thing, that he wanted the old white man to be selling his house. I'm like, okay, so you're racist and sexist. So I don't want to work with you anyways. So I was like, great.
And ageist maybe
Like,
as well.
ageist,
Like,
yeah. So I was like, you're ageist. So I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's fine. I'm not the
Yeah.
agent for you. But he literally said he's not going to use me because, and he kind of like skirted around it, but you could just tell it's like, you just
Yeah.
want the agent who's been doing it for 40 years, who's got the suit and tie, and he's
Yeah.
an old male. Like, that's
Yeah.
all you want.
On that note, have you experienced it like? And this might seem like an obvious question, but I don't necessarily think it is. Is it like a generational thing? Like, do you like? Let me ask it in these terms because it's too easy to say. Like, yeah. Like, do you find that younger men are like, I don't know what the expression is, better at dealing with this than older men, or not?
I don't think it's necessarily, yes, I think they are better at dealing with it, but I also think there's more education and there's more awareness now than maybe
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
years ago. So I just think like the younger generation are just have more knowledge now.
But also
and-
think about like the roles of our parents,
Yes.
our
Yes,
grandparents.
we were talking about this yesterday,
Yeah.
weren't
The
we?
woman did stay at home and did
Yeah.
cook and clean, and
Yeah.
how dare you go and have
Yeah.
a job? So those older men
Yeah,
typically will
Yeah.
want an old man to represent them because that's what they feel comfortable with.
yeah,
Yeah.
But I feel that most of my clients are like self-made millionaires type thing.
Yeah.
They are younger, they've created business, they've sold the business, and I have a lot of respect for them. And they also have a lot of respect for me
Yeah.
because
Yes.
we're self-employed,
Yeah.
because we're all that.
Yeah,
so
'cause
for
we've got
them,
families
the
and
women,
then-
the men, doesn't really matter. I think the younger generation just grow up with like more equality than
yes,
the older
I
generation.
think so. Yeah, and I think it's just a different world now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Like,
the
we were-
houses are very different in terms of the roles within the house.
Yeah, like the roles are very different.
Yeah.
Like what we were saying yesterday was I remember when my daughter was born, I was talking to my dad, and he said, "Oh, I don't think I ever changed a nappy," and I thought he was joking. I was like,
Yeah.
"Haha," and then just carried on. And then like I think it was one of my other mates' dad said it, and I was like, "Oh, wait, that's a weird thing for him to say as well." And it turns out that they weren't really joking.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What?" And I couldn't really get my head around it.
Yeah.
And then I guess like I'm not trying to excuse them, just trying to understand where their mindset comes from. That their world was so like categorized that men did one thing and women did
Yeah.
another, that they can't get their head around it. So that is what it is, and hopefully time will just kind of sort that out. Not wishing them all to die, but like that's just naturally going to happen.
Yeah.
But if you don't think that younger men are better at dealing with this than older men, then it's not going to change, is it? So I don't
No.
know what your experience has been with that.
But I think like even in, hopefully my husband won't mind me talking about our personal
Oh,
situation, but like, but when I went on maternity leave, his life didn't change. And I think it was a real shock to like both of us to try and find that balance.
Yeah.
He, had his 2 weeks paternity leave. He went straight back into the same role, the same position, carried on climbing the corporate ladder that he was going up, and still carried on going to the gym, 3 times a week. And I was at home with a baby, like right, this is my job now for the next year. And then it's like, well, what do I do after? Like, how are we going to do the nursery drop off? Who's going to be doing that? And how's that going to work? And how's it going to work with salaries? And like, we left both the job when I went on maternity leave at sort of, I guess, earning a similar amount. And then mine just kept going down and down and down after that, because I just couldn't find my way. And we really struggled with that. So I had to have we had to have a lot of serious conversations about how our life was now going to look now we've got a family and how it's going to be.
But then wasn't it you that was saying to me, because your husband then he changed jobs and he had a month's garden or amount of time gardening leave or something like that?
Oh yes.
Yeah, what was
this?
this?
Was
You said to me-
recently.
yeah.
So recently he got made redundant just before Christmas. He was off for a month, and he basically, our roles were slightly reversed. I mean, we're very, very equal now, and like just add that he's a very lovely dad. And
I've met Will. He's a nice guy. We got drunk. Yeah.
And he is definitely like 50-50 now with everything to do with the work-life balance, I guess, and the running the house and everything. But yeah, when he went on he didn't go on maternity leave. When he went on gardening leave, he basically did everything. So the school pickups, the drop-offs, the food, the cleaning of the house, the washing, and I had a month off, and I was like, wow.
You didn't have a month off? You were working.
I was working, but I
Yeah.
had a month off all the extra stuff.
Yeah.
Which he did do some of it, like he didn't do any, but I literally didn't do anything really for a month, and it was lovely. And I went, oh my God, is this what it feels like to be a man? I actually said that to him, and he was like, yeah, all right, I'm going back to work now. So we're going back to spinning 100 plates now, because he's now working back in London, and it's now that other new juggle of, right, okay, how are we going to work this? I'm starting by design, I'm only 6 months in. So I need to put the hours in, you need to put the effort in, but also the kids do need picking up. There isn't after school care every day. My parents are very, I'm very lucky my parents are close by, and they pick up 1 day a week as well, and are always there to help. But it's a huge juggle. It's like a full-time job running a house and dealing with kids as it is, without adding a job into the mix.
This is why I think when I got divorced or separated, we put the house on the market, and then I sold the house, and to kind of be alone in the house, go, okay, so now I've got the kids and now I've got the business. But then I do have the kids 50% of the time, which does help. So the weeks that I don't have the kids, I can like put 4 or 5 things in my diary in a day. But the weeks I do have the kids, then I make sure that I'm there for all the school pickups and all the activities and stuff. But yeah, like none of it is easy. Like whether you're doing it with a partner, doing it alone, like none of it is easy. You just need to work out what works for you in your life. It's just women are usually the one shunned to the side to like expect to do it anyway.
And it's the mental load. I think you described it as like the mental load of just thinking about like even things like World Book Day, the outfits for that, the school trip that they've got next week, they need to pack an extra bag, and it's just all these little extra things are just constant all the time.
There's like there's something like a bit broken with like the whole sort of social contract thing at the minute, because and funnily enough, I think a lot of it comes down to house prices as well, because house prices have gone up so much that they're only affordable, generally speaking, when there's 2 of you that are working with salaries and get a mortgage. So then when it comes to kids and things like that, it's like, well, okay, we didn't really, society hasn't really accounted for that properly anymore, because it's like,
and they are expensive.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of these problems kind of come from, maybe. I don't know. We kind of danced around a little bit, but then one of the last things we wanted to had on the list of stuff to talk about that we discussed, Amanda, was like how everything gets sexualized. And tell me what you kind of meant by that in terms of colleagues, clients, comments.
Well, there's a few instances, but I think it was mainly around like whenever I've had a lot of experience whenever I've done a good job or sold a property, again, when I was in employed roles, or, you'd won an instruction, it was always those little comments like, oh, did you flirt with them? Or, oh, did he fancy you? It was just,
did you wear a low top?
Yeah, those sorts of comments all the time. Whereas I just don't think men get that. Like if a guy, the negotiator alongside me at the time did a good deal, it would be like, well, yeah, well done, high five, great job, you've done amazing. Whereas it's never on, I always felt anyway, it was never on my experience or my knowledge or my rapport that I built with that client that got me that instruction. It was always down to the way I looked or how I approached myself with them.
Okay, so last question, kind of wrapping up the conversation. I suppose, like, frame this in 2 ways. What advice would you give to women that are coming into a state agency, self-employed agency, the premium market, and maybe a way to think about that is what things do you wish someone had told you, or that you wish you'd known going into it, that you've kind of learned yourself, learned the hard way maybe, that you think, oh, okay, that I wish someone had told me that when I was at the start of the journey as well.
Yeah, I think around that kind of having belief in myself, because when I came over to By Design, it was because a man from By Design called me up and said, Katie, I think you should do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wish that come from me instead.
Yeah, that's a funny thing to say. I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah. I mean, I know the guy you talk about, he raves about you, and he's got, I think it's fair to say, more years of experience in the industry than you, but he said, no, she is a better estate agent than me, even without those years of experience. So yeah, he's a proper cheerleader for you. But there's no reason, so why do you think that you wouldn't have had that feeling about yourself without someone else saying it to you?
I think it comes back to that number that we were talking about before, where men will go for something when they feel they're halfway there, and women will only go when they feel like they're all the way there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's around that like self-belief, I think.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I don't know where that
I think the
comes
best
from.
way is to learn on the job. Like, you'll never be ready. There's so many of these posts online, right? Like these motivational posts of, you will never be ready. Waiting to be ready, you'll never do it.
Yeah.
And it's the same as like, they use archery for that, don't they? Like you aim and you shoot, and a lot of people will wait till they hit the bullseye constantly before they go. But that's not how business is done. You aim, you shoot, you readjust. You aim, you shoot, you readjust. And so you just jump in and then readjust along the way. Like nobody has it all right from the get-go, and the best way to learn is to actually be thrown into it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's fair to say, just generally speaking, like most people got it less figured out than they maybe give the impression.
Oh, nobody does. Everybody's like,
Winging it.
winging it.
And then I don't know, part of me as well, like obviously I'm not part of this because I'm not a woman, but it seems like I was surprised at how many people, because it came up yesterday, how many people were in the Facebook group for the Women in Estate Agency. Are you all part of that Facebook group? Or
Yeah.
it's huge.
Yeah,
It's
it
almost
is
like-
huge.
good.
Yeah,
How
and the
many people
amount
are in
of
there?
posts on there daily, and it's a really good like support network for anyone that's got any concerns or problems or just wants advice, and it's a really kind of, I guess, safe space for women to help each other out.
And what about being on social media? Like, how would you, are there any, I suppose, like, what would you recommend people do in terms of who they follow to see good examples or see how things are done, or what advice would you give to people about putting themselves out there on social media as well, to an extent, like how to present themselves on camera and so on as well? Like, any thoughts on that?
Just go for it.
Yeah, and don't try to reinvent the wheel. I think this is the problem. Like, you've got so many of us who, I mean, I'm tapping all of ourselves on the shoulder now that we're doing pretty good on social media and in business, and like there are so many people to follow, to look at, and I do it too. I look at like the Australians and how they do it, and I take, you know, what they're doing and I implement it here. And so you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just find people that resonate with you, follow them, and then, you know, reach out. We were talking about this before, but if any one of us got a message from somebody in us agencies that saying, I'm looking at going self-employed, not even with us, just going self-employed, can I get, you know, a few minutes of your time?
Yeah.
We'd
And
all
to hear about our
happily-
journeys and
we
how
would
we
all
transition.
happily
Yeah,
have a
of
half-hour
course we would.
conversation with them.
Yeah.
So like, if you are wanting to jump into the self-employed role, find self-employed women who you like and you know, trust a little bit, and who the values kind of resonate with you, and then just reach out.
Yeah.
And you know, with that saying, we're all hiring at the same time.
So all the more reason to do it. But I appreciate what you said, that even if they're not looking to join any of your teams, so that offer's still there, and you can do that just looking out for one another.
I have spoken to quite a few people that have put messages on Women in Estate Agency. They're thinking of going self-employed. Has anyone got any tips or advice? And I've been like, you know, DM me. I've had quite a few conversations with people that weren't looking to join By Design. They weren't looking to join necessarily the premium market, but just wanted, I guess, that courage and that reassurance that, you know, I'm at the other side of it. It's worked for me. I've left an employed role, and touch wood, hopefully it's all going okay. So I think but I quite like not mentoring people, but I quite like helping people out. I find it quite rewarding.
Yeah, I think it's funny, like the amount of people that men or women regardless say they enjoy doing that, but the amount of people that feel awkward about asking for it, and actually it's a funny thing that just in life that people love helping other people, but no one wants to, they feel like, oh god, I'm really a burden to someone if I
Well,
do
Marie,
this.
you helped me, didn't you, when I joined my design?
Had a good hour
Yeah,
chat.
I was like, just a quick 5-minute chat, Marie. Yeah, of course. Like hour and a half later, I was like, just one more question. Just one more question.
I was sat in the gym's locker room, just like having a talk with her. I was like, I gotta go to the gym now.
I was like, I've got so many more questions, but I feel like I can't ask any more. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all there to help. And like we joked about it that all the people I've hired have been women. I have interviewed men, so it's not that, but for some reason the majority of people who are interested have been women. And I don't know if that's because they see me and they kind of feel comfortable if they're going to jump from the self-employed, from the employed to self-employed, doing it under a female that understands them, understands the pressures of being a mum.
That's really interesting. Do you also think that the other side of that coin is true as well? That there could be men that would otherwise be a good fit that feel awkward. Like, oh,
I mean, think about a 50, 60-year-old man working for me. In terms of like their mindset shift of, I've been an estate agent for 30 years and I'm going to go work for that young girl. Like that could quite be the same as well, that they might want to work for a man.
But maybe that's age, because like when I joined By Design, I had maybe around 12 different agents reach out to me, and I had phone call conversations with quite a few of them. They wanted to know why I'd moved and a bit about By Design, but most of them were men. But maybe 2 of them were women. So
hopefully
younger
it's changing
men,
bit by bit. And I think like doing stuff like this, doing the thing that's yesterday at the Women in Estate Agency is really good. I think we've just got to keep pushing in the right direction, haven't we? Good. Okay, I think we're pretty much there at the end. Last thing to say is that I shouldn't have been on this. So I'm devastated that I've been dragged in front of the camera because it was supposed to be our colleague Angela who was going to be doing this as well. So I do feel a little bit like a ridiculous substitute on here. And definitely the wrong gender for it. But I really enjoyed yesterday, really enjoyed this conversation as well, talking to you three about like seeing it from your perspective, a perspective that we're going to get through asking you questions. So thank you for sharing, and thank you for making the offer to people to contact you if they wanted some help or advice or guidance in there.
I think one little tidbit for anybody as well, kind of wanting to go up, is to be okay with no. Like, we will see no much more than men will, most probably. Generalizing here. But the amount of times that we will see no, you need to have tough, thick skin, and you have to be okay with no's. Every no will lead to a yes. But I think this is also why women in the lower end of estate agency are said no for this promotion or whatever, and then they go, okay, I'm not worth it. Like, you will get so many no's, just you've got to push through those no's. And yes, we do have to prove ourselves a little bit more than men, and until things change drastically, that's always going to be the way. So, you know, latch on to women that are already in the business, and we can help you through that.
They were talking about that yesterday, weren't they? Like, find your tribe.
And
I think that's so true. Like, you need to find those people that are going to be your biggest cheerleaders and support you through those no's, and give you the confidence to keep going.
And then support others as well that are doing the same thing. That's what it's about. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate the time and sharing so much. I know it's like a sensitive subject at times, but I thought that was super interesting. Hopefully those of you who've watched or listened would think so too. So Amanda, Marie, Katie, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in the next episode of Property Porn Stars. Till then.